Welcome to 5 and 5 with Miller and Mango, your go-to source for all things finance with a twist of culture infused into every episode. Join your hosts, seasoned financial professional Miller and marketing maverick Mango, as they discuss 5 of the latest market and cultural trends and help you instill common sense into the ever-changing landscape of finance, all within 5 minutes. It's time to dive into the numbers, unravel market mysteries, and discover the strategies that matter. Welcome to 5 and 5 with Miller and Mango.
Hello and welcome back to 5 and 5 with Miller and Mango. I'm your host, Mike Manganello, with my co-host, Miller Hoffman. Miller, what's going on?
We are doing well. We're off to a good start so far in November. How about yourself?
I'm great. Exciting episode. This is our 5th episode. So 5 and 5, number 5?
Yeah, I'm ready for some residuals to start to kick in. We get some royalties or something?
Yeah, I hope. Someday. Let's roll right into it. Today being Election Day, let's talk about the significance of Election Day in the stock market, because I know there is some significance moving forward.
Definitely, yeah. And everyone exercise your civic duty to get involved and steer the direction of the country and the way that you see fit. We're obviously not a political podcast, but I think it's fair to encourage everyone to exercise their rights. There's somewhat of a behavioral tendency, I think, that naturally politics invokes in us, right? Oftentimes we say politics leads to emotion. And emotions lead to making a decision. Sometimes these decisions can be really good, but sometimes they can be pretty costly. So my warning with markets and how we approach that from our side, historically, since we started formally keeping data, and when I say we, just the nerds like myself out there, we have not seen a statistical difference between the main two houses or sides of the aisle in Congress and our other branches of government really having a huge impact on the stock market performance. So no matter which side you may agree or disagree with, we haven't seen a huge influence on the direction of the stock market over the long term.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so expect some volatility. We expect things to be on edge here, let's say, but a president or changing of the guard one way or the other is not going to wreck your financial plan just from an investment perspective.
Got it. Fun fact, I don't think you knew this. I was born on Election Day.
No way.
Yeah, my dad was running for office in Queens. Unfortunately or fortunately, lost, and I was actually in the local newspaper next day.
There you go.
Yeah, look at that.
Getting famous.
There's the significance of that. Also, fun fact, let's talk about Black Friday coming up. Historically, big holiday of spending. There's a significant history, which we're not going to go into how it started, but there is a financial backing to how it started. Yeah. But we'll love your thoughts on Black Friday in theory.
Yeah, and now I'm biased for the Saturday that follows, being Small Business Saturday. I'm raised in a household where both of my parents had small businesses at one time. So I am partial to the small businesses out there rather than just the Walmarts or the Amazons or a lot of these large corporations that are going to be doing a lot of volume in sales. So I think oftentimes we get wrapped up in our world, what earnings or revenue in the billions look like for Walmart. But how is your neighbor doing who has his or her small business? And I know that's a close hits close to home here for you and Karen, her business.
Yeah, no, they're doing great. And I'm kind of with you. I'd much rather support local small businesses versus the big retailers. I think the interesting thing that has shifted over the years on Black Friday is it just ends up being starts early and earlier every year, and most of the shopping goes online versus getting people in store. Right. So I feel like it's lost the significance of what it used to be, where back in the day, my brother was one of those people that would wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, sit in line for Walmart to get that television. There's kind of something fun about doing that, getting that deal where it's just not as significant as it is now.
Yeah, right after you eat the Thanksgiving lunch or dinner, people are heading into the lines already. Yeah. So you're right. Quite the times.
Talking about quite the times, there was news today of WeWork going bankrupt, which should not be a shock to all. And if you haven't seen or read any of the biographies of WeWork, I find it fascinating. It was a great show, I think, on I want to see Hulu or one of those streaming sources, that it was phenomenal. Would love your background and your history where we work. I know you follow the story as well, and the significance of today.
Yeah, I read a really, really good book. I'm going to forget the author's name, but it was on the rise and fall of WeWork and really Adam Neumann as a whole, one of the past leaders of the company and CEO at one point. WeWork's really been on life support for quite some time now. This isn't brand new, shocking news. I think it's just getting to the formalities now of actually filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and I think they're going through a lot of renegotiation with a lot of the people they owe money to. So I think it serves as a good caution for us as investors. WeWork had so much hype around it. This was the new company. This is the new way we work. That kind of thing. So I think keeping our bearings as investors and not just following the shiny piece of gold is tried and true wisdom, even with the smart money out there. When I say smart money, think of the banks or private equity or some professional investors out there. So it's important for us to keep our head no matter the good and maybe some of the challenging times or companies that present themselves to us.
I mean, that's the scary thing of, if you have charisma and you're really good salespeople, people will buy into you, right? I mean, if listeners go and learn more of the history, I mean, this guy and what they've done has failed multiple times, yet investors kept on dumping money into him.
Yeah, really doubling down.
Scary.
To the tune of billions and billions in terms of the valuation and actually how much money was forked over to them. So that's right. Keep your antennas up, folks.
Yes. So I came actually across an interesting article I want to talk about as our next subject about the title is Gen Z Wants to Retire Early. And they're off to a good start. And there's recent studies about how at earlier ages people are starting to invest, right? And just understanding what that means. I know at TradeWinds we try to educate clients at every age, and especially when it gets to generational, so how we do that. But I'm not sure if are you a Gen Zer?
I am technically a Gen Zer now. I'm on the latter end of the Gen Z. I think there's some really good things, but also some things to be leery of here a bit. I think it's so good that the talking about money and investing is much more of a, let's call it a casual conversation, I think, that happens among some of the younger generations. They don't call the silent generation silent for nothing. And that's really a big taboo that I think we've seen in the United States start to unwind here a bit. Talking about money, income, stocks, investing, that kind of stuff is somewhat commonplace. You wouldn't be super surprised to hear someone mentioning digital assets, let's say, at the dinner table, whereas maybe 40, 50 plus years ago, that would have been really something to stay away from. Something I think is interesting is depending on where you live and from a generational standpoint, it always fascinates me to see the market is the same for everyone, no matter where you live. If I invest X amount of dollars, I'm going to get the return that the market gives me, whether we live in the Southeast or in California or in New Jersey. Yeah. The market is the market. So more and more of our generation, it seems like, are migrating in some of the larger cities. That's kind of where a lot of people are attracting themselves to. So I always think that's interesting. The market is the same for everyone, but we can debate on how much money maybe you are able to save depending on where you are and what your, of course, income and cost of living may look like. Yeah,
I think the interesting thing you mentioned is about the taboo of talking finances with your friends or family members. I mean, I think that stigma hopefully should be going away and just having more open, transparent conversations within the people you trust. Everybody's looking for advice. Word of mouth is going to win out every time. So the more I think people, trust and have those educated conversations, the better for all.
Yeah, and that's part of the leery point, right? Where you're getting your information from, probably TikTok or some of the other social media outlets probably aren't the most ideal place to get information from. So be careful about what you see, videos or people who are the talking heads here. Be really careful.
However, they do give great recipes. So.
You can use some ChatGPT to get you some good cookie recipes.
That's all right. My favorite segment, as everybody knows, explain it to me like a fourth grader. Going on the topic of talking about or being educated when it comes to finances and making money, one of the other areas that I find interesting, and I know enough about now, but didn't in the past. What's an annuity?
Yeah. If you've been around the finance world long enough, you've heard the A word, annuity, whether it's someone else telling you about theirs or it even being marketed or sold to you. So in just the simplest form, an annuity defines a stream of income. So we'll dive into what a product, maybe a capital A annuity is, but even, for example, Social Security could be seen as an annuity. It's a routine stream of payments that has a fixed life. For Social Security, it's when you pass away, but others may be more fixed than that. You have a ton of different styles of annuities and a lot of bells and whistles, or what we call riders, or additional things, guarantees that you can build into them. But essentially, insurance companies will offer capital A annuities to people to help them figure out their retirement needs. They'll transfer a larger pot of money over in what's called an immediate annuity. So I'll give you $100,000, let's say, in exchange for Pacific West or Pacific Life, guaranteeing a certain amount of routine payments to you over time. These can be really good aspects of a financial plan, but unfortunately they can be marketed in a pretty sketchy way. So the commissions tend to be pretty high that agents earn, so it's kind of holding a hammer and everything around you looks like a nail. So that's our hesitancy, or our skepticism, in other words, for us to at least get more information on what kind of annuity are we working with, what are some of the costs or expenses, how long are we locked in this thing for. So a lot of things, I think, revolving around that world. They can be excellent products, but only if carefully used and intentionally used. So you hear oftentimes, I think, in our industry, annuities aren't bought, they're sold.
Yeah.
Just because it's a really active market out there, especially when markets are doing pretty wild things. Like last year, and really even so far this year, we've had some pretty roller coaster quarters. So
it sounds like, there is some advantages to it, especially where you are, what stage of life you are, where you want to retire. But it really just comes down to understanding what you're purchasing and reading the fine print, right?
Yeah, and that's why we love being on the fiduciary side of the wall here. We follow what's in the best interest of the client, not necessarily what's being pushed that particular day, what commissions look like on it. So they can be useful tools depending on the particular situation. So I'll qualify it a bit on that end.
You helped me out.
Yeah.
All right, that is a wrap for our historic 5th episode of 5 and 5. We did it. We made it to 5.
High five.
5. Again, everybody, thank you for listening. Always, please subscribe, comment, listen to us on your podcast of choice, specifically Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But until then, this is Mike Manganello and Miller Hoffman
signing out. You guys enjoy your Thanksgiving festivities, and we'll talk at you in a couple weeks.
Take care.
TradeWinds LLC is an investment advisory firm that is registered with the Securities Exchange Commission. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. TradeWinds will not accept trade offers online, and any such request, orders, or instructions that you send will not be accepted and will not be processed. This presentation has been provided for informational purposes only and is not intended as legal, tax, or investment advice or a recommendation of any particular security or strategy. The investment strategy and themes discussed herein may be unsuitable for investors depending on their specific investment objectives and financial situation. Information obtained from third-party sources is believed to be reliable, though its accuracy is not guaranteed. Opinions expressed in this commentary reflect subjective judgments of the author based on conditions at the time of the publication and are subject to change without notice. Past performance is not indicative of future results.